Good evening, everybody. It's Steve with Real Progressives, and we're bringing back a friend of ours, friend of the program, all-around good guy, Sam Ronan. Let me split the screen back. There you go, sir.
Hey.
So, Sam, this whole DNC thing, man. Let me just front to you from the outside and just paint a picture for you, so you understand what it's like to not be the guy running for this and not be the guy getting the interviews and so forth. From the outside, there was a handful of people, a large handful of people, that kind of sat back and gave the old chin a stroke and wondered, how is this guy going to in any way, shape, or form disrupt the apple cart? Because we have seen people countless times try to take down the Democratic Party or try to shift it. We've seen Bernie Sanders, who had a movement behind him, try to do it, and Bernie couldn't even get his own hombre in there, right?
Right.
So, with all due respect, and I do have much respect for you, so let's just get that out there right off the bat. But quite frankly, the Democratic Party has really given us all the hi-ho middle finger, and have been doing that for a long time. And for those of us who have fought for them at times and who had thought, well, God, there's only two parties that we can really work with. We got to go with the Democrats. Dude, I am just not assisting in my own suicide, man. I don't see, you were like, you brought curiosity to me because I was like, here's a guy who I think, even though maybe you were rough around the edges on economics, you got most of the sensibilities I care about on the other side. Mm-hmm. So I was paying attention, and I was paying attention hard, and they literally gave you the Heisman, man. They went full Heisman on you. I mean, what happened here for real? What? Talk to us. Tell us a story about what happened.
So here's the deal, right? So let's get another thing straight. There is no damn reason why I, of all people, needed to run for the DNC, right? I had a military career going, 5 and a half years and some change, active duty. I met my mark to where I could have cross-trained and been happy, done my 20 years, gotten out, right? So there's no reason for me to be involved. So when I did get involved, it was literally to kind of tell a message, to call people out, and so I did. So the question is, did my efforts end up being in vain? And the answer is no. So yeah, I got stonewalled. There's no question about that, right? 0 votes, big goose egg. Why did that happen? Because Pete Buttigieg, he dropped out right before the vote. And I mean like an hour before the vote, he dropped out. Pete had about 40 votes, 30 votes pushing for him, which would have been enough to pull from both Tom and Keith, meaning that first vote, that first round could have been a safe vote, meaning you could have voted for your second choice and given everybody the warm fuzzy, right? You would have had votes all up and down the chain. I mean, Jimmy Green would have had votes, Sally, everybody would have had some amount of votes. But because Pete, who was the arguable third party guy, the third runner up, dropped out when he did, there was no risk. I mean, nope, we got to vote for our guy and we got to make sure he gets it. And Tom almost got it in that first round. He literally missed it by 1 point, like literally missed it by 1 point. So that's what happened. That's why I got 0 votes. Because when I gave my speech, I got a solid standing O. And that was a legitimate organic standing ovation. There was no reason why they had to. We saw earlier when they voted down Resolution 33, which would have gotten rid of the corporate money from the party. You know what I mean? So what had happened was there was that anal clinch where that might have been inappropriate. But you get the idea. They were afraid, and so they acted in fear. And I got 0 votes, and then they kind of shot themselves in the foot, proverbially speaking, because I've said it before. I have nothing against Tom Perez as a person. I don't think he's a bad guy. I think, he's just a party dude. He's just a party guy. He's a player. He's just what you would expect. But by electing that guy, you told, like you said, the progressives, myself and everybody else, who are trying to affect the change, and not even to be mean about it, like not even to just say, you guys screwed up and you got to go. It's more like we're trying to say, hey guys, you could fix this problem literally like that, and you're not doing it. So we're going to tell you what that is. And if you don't want to listen, well, right, what are we going to do? Well, as we just saw, Dem Exodus is well underway. Dem Exit 2.0 is well underway. Draft Bernie, Draft Green, Go Green. All these different hashtags took off. And you know what? I got some backlash too. Like you said, I'm a nobody. I'm a rising star, whatever. But even I got backlash because I said, I endorsed Keith like I was supposed to, right? He was a Bernie guy. And then I said, you know what? I'll even work with Tom Perez. Why? Because A, it was partially expected of me, but B, because I said in that exact same sentence, we're going to hold him accountable. Like, we can't, if Tom's going to be the leader, then we definitely got to make sure he's doing his job. He's been talking this talk about progressivism, talking this talk about local candidates and all that. Okay, time to pony up on that. And that's our responsibility.
So let me interject because this is.
Yeah. Oh, I know. I was waiting.
I like you. If anybody hears anything on this show that in any way, shape, or form comes off as I don't like Sam Ronan, they're missing the boat here. This is the Democratic Party, right?
Right.
Toilet paper, the guy that got elected, TP guy. Okay, Homeboy is all for something that has an extra P in it in the TPP. Okay, yeah. That's disgusting, right? Yeah. That's treasonous, in my opinion.
No, okay? Because you got the net neutrality that was on board with it. You got all the extra corporate money, more jobs being literally more like it was in the fine text that American jobs are going to be going overseas, and we're going to just have to deal with it. You are not wrong. I am not saying Tom Perez is the Messiah in any form or fashion.
Kind of evil to support that, in my opinion. Like when I look at people suffering today, you know what? This is no joke. Going forward, I want you to be well aware. When people talk to me and they say, "Steve, what do we do?" I'm going to say, when you look at Tom Perez, I want you to see that homeless guy over there, and I want you to know Tom Perez literally lifted his leg on him. That's the kind of guy this guy is to me.
Right.
And I look at you and I say to myself, once you have to start doing the fallback, like to Keith, to Tom, etc., you end up putting party, and this is the difficult thing of party politics, you end up elevating party above the needs of the people. And that is a serious problem.
So I just want to assuage your concerns. I said most of what I said because I had to. It was expected of me, right? I was at the DNC forum. I was a candidate, But here's the problem, right? The problem is that the duopoly hasn't gone away overnight, and it's not going to. The problem is we're still fragmented, and we talked about this last time, and I think we're on the same page. My goal is to now have a foot in the establishment where I can say, look, kind of like what Bernie and Tulsi are doing. It's like, you're still going to support me, but I'm going to still talk about what I'm going to talk about. That's where I need to be, or that's what I'm working towards. I'm hoping to get an opportunity to go to D.C. so I can see what the inner workings look like, so I know what exactly needs to change and how to fix it. Economics aside, there's other things that need to happen, and there's that parliamentary bowl that I'm going to have to maneuver. I might easily just get pushed out because I didn't know that there was this parliamentary trick that I wasn't following. You know what I mean? So I got to keep a foot in the door insofar as I need to learn the process. I will be the first to admit I know nothing about the way things are, which is why I said we need to fix them. We need to get rid of the way things are because clearly it's not working. I still intend to do that. In fact, one of the things I'm trying to do is get to LA so I can kind of build the message and show look, I really do want to build this progressive movement. But seriously, we have to come together. We have to literally put our egos aside, put our own agendas aside, because none of them will come to fruition if we don't go against this juggernaut. And here's the other thing. You take the independents and the progressives, right? 42% of the electorate. That's more than whoever associates themselves with the Democrats or the Republicans, or as much or equal to, whatever the case, right? That is massive. But we're not tapping into it. It's not being tapped into at all. I'm trying to do that. That's why I'm holding a town hall on Wednesday to tell people, hey, this is how you run for office. This is kind of the basics to it. And if you need some more additional information, look at your local state and whatnot. But I'm trying to embody the promise I made to you guys, and you as well. I promised you, I was like, look, I'm not going to turn into a corporate shill. That's not who I am. That's not why I got into this. So I know people are not going to be happy that I'm doing a foot in the door here and a foot in the door there, but I have to be somebody more, right? I got the exposure. Now I need to cement it. And once I'm cemented, that's a whole another story. I mean, I might still have to run as a Democrat for Congress or something until the ballot access changes. But, I mean, I think that's a fair enough. I mean, even you agree, right? I mean, we have to agree that if you can't get on the ballot, you can't win.
Let's talk about that for a minute, because I'm not here to judge. Real progressives, so no one gets the wrong idea. We say it over and over again. Real progressives support progressives wherever they are, period. There is no party loyalty to us at all. I slam the Green Party for their silliness with AMI and positive money. I slam the Democrats for being sellouts and murderers. I slam the Republicans for being just crazy. So all across the board, I have something for somebody.
Right.
But the issue here is that, and this is me to you as, like, this is two friends talking, okay? As I sit there and I watch, I want you to be very cautious. I'm giving this to you as somebody who wants you to succeed, because I recognize no matter how much I'm pushing for an outside strategy, and brother, I am, but no matter how much I'm pushing for that, I also recognize that we have people that are making laws for us today. We have people that are going to be making laws for us as we build the externalities, as we do the things that I'm doing. So my goal is, I want to see the people that are in place, that are in office, that are able to affect any change whatsoever. I want to make sure that they do as much good as is possible within the horrible, disgusting constrictions that are there. So I want you to be very aware of my position here. I am fighting because I despise the Democratic Party for so many reasons. But the flip side is that the reason why is not because I just hate parties and I'm not just out there saying, well, I don't like the Democrats. It's because they have tried to appropriate progressive culture. And by doing so, and by doing so, the Republicans, I know who they are. I can zero in on them. I don't even need to talk about the Republicans. Democrats don't want to vote Republican, so they're not. The progressives, most of them don't want to vote Republican, so they don't. What the progressives want is somebody to be progressive. And they want them to care about the environment. They want them to care about health care, on and on and on. Mm-hmm. So as I watch you, just trust me when I say this. We've got guys on this program who are still very much strong Bernie supporters, and they get a lot of flack, and they sit there and attack me as if I'm some Demeter sheepdog. And the truth of the matter is, let's lay it out there. I am literally fighting that strategy. So, I mean, we are, God, I hate to use this term, we are opposed in the sense of, I'm trying to pull people out while I recognize people need to still be in there to fix things. It's a weird kludge of shit.
But here's the thing. You're absolutely right. Like, I'm trying to do the same thing. Like, even if I had won the chair, which we all knew was an astronomical not going to happen, but let's say I had done it, I would still support the progressive movement, and I would have still wanted to build it. Here's why. What we're fundamentally both trying to say here is that there's not enough conversation happening. There's not enough discussion. There's not enough teamwork. When politics became this left versus right, no middle ground nonsense, only lines in the sand, that is when we started to fail. And now, granted, it's been happening for decades, but it wasn't to the point of where it is until Obama took office and the Republicans just decided, no, we're not going to support this guy. So, I mean, we saw that, though. We saw that in the vote for the DNC, not just because I didn't get a vote, but we saw how split even they were. 213 and a half votes for Tom Perez, 200 for Keith Ellison, and then in the round two, it was a 1 point difference. It was a 1 point spread between Keith and Tom. Well, then they voted on the money thing in Resolution 33, and you had Christine Pelosi out there fighting the good fight, right? Nancy Pelosi's daughter out there fighting for progressives, and you know what? Credit where credit is due. She gave it her all, but man, you saw that, 200, 300 people stand up, and you were like, are you kidding me? You just heard the crowd boo. Literally, like, not like boo, like ugly booing, like pitchforks and torches booing. I'm like, you guys are stupid. Like, you are actually retarded. So as I move forward in this realm that I've built for myself, for better or for worse, I mean, I think the Democrats, as far as the establishment goes, they know I'm not going to fall in line. Like they, if I haven't made it clear to this point, I don't know what else I have to do. But they know that I will play ball, but I'm going to play it on my terms. I'll play ball. I'm going to support the progressives, right? If you're a good person as a Democrat, I'm going to support you. But if you're an establishment Dem, and let's just say a Green Party guy's running against him, they know and they will accept that I'll support the Green Party guy over the establishment Dem because they know I'm not going to do that. They know damn well I won't do that. So I'm in a unique position to where I'm able to build my brand, which, by the way, I think you knew this when we first talked. Like, this is all new to me. Like,
Absolutely.
I'm just Sam. You know, I was in the Air Force 2 years ago. I'm still a reservist. You know, like brand, right? But whatever. That's what I have to do. That's the road ahead of me. But as I build my brand, I'm going to do it helping progressives coalesce, because we need to. I mean, there's just no question about it. We must come together, and somebody needs to lead it. Either lead it in terms of building that infrastructure, or lead it as being like, I am the head of the progressive movement. Whatever. This needs to happen. But I'm also going to be dragging the Democrats along for the ride for the sole purpose of using them as a shield. I think we talked about this, and I don't know if it was us, but I know we talked about it too a little bit. The Democratic Party falls right now, today falls. That power void will only get usurped by the Republican Party. And that would be worse. That would be way worse than, Democrats not learning their lesson. That being said, we need to be a catalyzing agent. We must, absolutely must come together, pull our stuff together now, like within the next 12 months, so that we are telling the Democratic Party, like, look, you see what we just did in a year, right? Either you guys can get on board, you can go center if you want, but either you can get on board or we're going to crush you. That's the next step. So,
Sam, from my vantage point, and I'm speaking for other people here as much as myself in this case.
Yeah.
The concern is, number one, the money interest that drives the Democratic Party is far greater than the threat of being primaried. It's far greater than the threat of Sam raising his fist in the air and saying, let's go. It's far greater than Bernie Sanders, obviously, putting his fist in the air and saying, let's go. So here's my thing, right? I don't believe that Democrats are capable of overcoming their own structural hurdles that have nothing to do with your stances, that don't have anything to do with your perspective or desires. The structure of the overall workings of the party, from the DSCC to all these different little internal mechanisms they've put in to block any insurgency. And they've been doing it for a long time. These moneyed interests have prevented. It's not even about who gets elected. I literally believe, and this is going to sound silly, but I'll just tell you how my mind works, that they were not going to pass that pharmaceutical bill. And it had absolutely nothing to do with one or the other voters. It had to do with the fact that they knew they needed a couple people to block it, because they didn't want to do it because they needed to put on a show to make it look like a few people were against it. But the reality was they were never going to pass it. Didn't matter if it was Booker, didn't matter if it was Bernie, it didn't matter if it was Elizabeth, it didn't matter who. They were not passing that bill. They were going to show enough to the crowd to say, see, we vote this way, a couple people, whatever. I'm getting to the point now where I just believe the party structure, the thing itself, the bones that you say are good to save are the very bones that I don't know how you overcome that many hurdles. And I'm not talking about whether or not the people want to follow you. The people can want that all day long, but the structure is so corrupt. I don't know how you fix that. I don't.
Well, and you bring up a very valid point, because so a little bit of the inside story, right? Insider, right? I saw some of the caucuses, and it goes back to what I said on CNN. It's not enough to have a caucus. It's not enough to have a committee, because it's intrinsically limiting. You're saying that these people have to have their own little collaboration to come up with their top 3 ideas to give to the adults to decide whether or not they want to listen to it. So you're right. It is intrinsically damning to itself. The money is obviously a problem, and the only way to beat the money is obviously having enough force from the outside to bludgeon it down in a way. The issue is the ballot access and the entrenchment of people's minds, the voters. You and I are having an intellectuals conversation of politics, but this is not the conversation that's happening across the country.
Oh, you're right.
The average voter sees, okay, Democrat, Republican, I'm going to vote for one or the other. It really doesn't matter who they are because that's how I was raised. This is how whatever. The only thing that I find salvageable if the Democratic Party, and I believe I said this at several forums, is the fact that they have national reach, that they have that infrastructure. The money is. The problem is, let's say we do make a progressive movement. Like, let's say we have a national party and we get it on every state and every ballot, and we call ourselves, let's just do something obnoxious, the Pink Party Pony, right? The Pink Pony Party, right? The Triple P. So now you see the Triple P on a ballot, the Pink Party, or the Pink, oh, I can't even say it. So the Pink Pony Party, right? So we have that. Well, people are going to see that in 2017, and they're going to be like, what the is this? No, I'm going to vote for. The problem is we have to build a message, and we have to build a structure that transcends this duopoly, and it has to reach. And the only way to do that is to have boots on the ground, right? Unfortunately, but that's the hardest part. So we need that infrastructure from online, like what you're doing, what I'm doing. I'm trying to build this online network first. I'm trying to build this infrastructure first and then transform it into a boots on the ground network so that we can get that information out there. It's not going to work in 2017. We progressives, I'm just going to be honest. I think you might agree. We're not going to win in 2017. We're not going to win overarchingly in 2017. We might have our victories, in California, Washington, Florida, wherever these strongholds of Democrats are. Or maybe Florida isn't one. I'm just saying. Wherever a Democratic stronghold is, we're going to have victories for progressives. We are. But we're not going to have overwhelming victories in those areas. What we can do in 2018, though, is have a solid showing. If we have an infrastructure in place January 1st, 2018, we can build on that. But
let me interrupt you because this is very, very key. I did a live stream earlier this morning, and in that live stream, I talked about the fact that I don't even care about Donald Trump right now. What I care about is Bernie Sanders' platform meets Jill Stein's platform meets one progressive platform. There's no need to have a bunch of people voting on platform ideas. The progressive community is solidly behind the Jill Stein meets Bernie Sanders campaign. That is it. That is it in a nutshell. We don't have to sit there and reinvent the wheel. Put that together and start talking about it today. Because what happens? This is what happens, and it is what always happens. People that are a little bit lower on the IQ scale get into drawing up Trump memes with a bunghole for a mouth and all the other things. They think it's cute. It's almost like farting in the locker room or something like that. They get a little chuckle out of it or whatever. But that right there drowns out actual progressive voices. And so that whole anti-Trump thing ends up blocking single-payer healthcare. It ends up blocking green energy. It ends up blocking all these things that all anyone wants to do is focus on Donald Trump's tax returns. I got to tell you, Mike Pence is sitting there in the wings going like this. Please, I would love nothing better than to make women put an aspirin between their knees so we can get back to old school making America great again. That is what I'm like, are you guys really focused on doing this? Because the fact is, if you think Pence is somehow or another a lesser evil, wow, have you been missing out?
Right?
So we have to really focus, in my opinion. Stop worrying. We know. You remember that Dennis Green thing? The Bears are who we thought they are, and we let them off the hook. You remember that line they did on ESPN? Well, the Republicans are who we thought they were. They're always going to be the Republicans. Stop focusing on them. We have numbers. We have mass. If we just stay with the message, and the message that wins is Bernie Sanders' message. You don't have to like Bernie, folks. All you people out there that don't like when I bring Bernie's name up, sorry, his platform is what we're talking about, what I'm talking about.
The platform.
It is the unifying message that we all got behind. I don't care about Bernie is irrelevant to me in the sense of I am not following him anywhere. I am simply very zero focused on his entire platform. Him and Jill's platform, you combine that together, we are winners. And that is what my children need. That's what Sam needs. That's what you need. That's what our world needs. So if you focus on Donald Trump, that's not building a movement.
No,
that is not a movement at all. So if you want to build a movement, it takes a lot of repetition. To your point, you can't sit there and just say, well, you got the pink people pony party or whatever, and now all of a sudden let's go. Let's make it happen. No, you've got branding. You've got that mind share. You've got that heartfelt belief. You know, these people are still pulling on FDR when they think about the Democratic Party. So there's a lot of things there. JFK, whatever.
And see, that's the problem. Like, I evoked the name in the last 2 forums and on CNN, FDR, the New Deal. We were the greatest nation on earth when we had the New Deal because, why? It benefited people. And we were the envy of the world, right? So, I mean, I think we're honestly just arguing on how much we agree. It's just a matter of what we need is this catalyzing agent. I don't know if I'm it, but you're right about the message. The message has to be the catalyzing agent. It has to be delivered somehow that people understand it. Well, the best way to do that is with a figure, right? A Bernie Sanders or a Tulsi Gabbard. The thing is, even they have not stepped up to claim that torch because they're trying to play the game from the inside. I freely admitted I wanted to keep a foot in the door, but I'm not playing that game. Screw that nonsense, you know? We do truly need to have all these different orgs. If we can get these orgs to truly combine their efforts, because they're all trying to say the Justice Dems, New 535, Dem Enter, Dem Exit, Draft Bernie, People's. All these guys are saying the same exact thing, but they want to be the hero rather than work together to make it happen. I want to bring everybody to that round table to bring us together and make it happen. And I saw on one of these little questions that keep popping up, how are you going to fund it? Seriously, here's the thing. PAC, right? Super PAC, that's how you get dark money, right? But it's also how you get a lot of small donations into one central location that can be pushed around. The thing about a political action committee is that it's simply a jar. It's just a jar that you can tap into to bring elsewhere. So if you put people in charge of the jar of money, you're going to be giving it to more people. Now, that's what Bernie Sanders did when he was getting his $27 donations. He had a PAC. It got all this money, and then he distributed it out to all these different locations. What I'm talking about is doing exactly that. We need an infrastructure. We need a bit like a 5013C, an LLC that deals with deliberately dealing with politics. That's what we need. We need a true infrastructure with a centralized sense of communication, a top-down, local to state to federal communication where you can actually pay people and get a full-time organization on the ground at each county. Is that a lengthy and lofty goal? It is. But that's what we need. What we need is the sky in the pie, or the pie in the sky solution. But we need to all get on board with it. And you're right, it is with that message. But somebody needs to deliver that message, and I'm trying to be that person until either Bernie Sanders or Tulsi takes the torch from me. I don't need to be the guy. I don't give a damn about the guy. All I want to do is get into Congress and slap Paul Ryan across the face and say, you need to get your head out your ass. I want to be on CNN debating Ted Cruz and that smarmy bastard who shut down the federal government. I want to get them in the same room with me so I can knock their teeth out. That's my whole purpose for doing this, brother. And I think you know that. I think you understand that completely. But in order to get there, we need to build that structure. And haters can hate all they want, but we have to unite. We have to come together, or that structure is never going to happen. I'm just saying, we got to build the structure, and that structure is simple enough. We just have to put our own egos aside, you know?
If you look at a Venn diagram, right, you've got the lemming zombie Democrats, the vote blue sycophants, as I call them. Then you've got the progressive wing, and then you've got the out party, right, the progressives on the out that are marginally, they probably are Democrats that are disgusted, would be that next segment. And then you've got the Greens, and then you've got the socialists and so forth. But nonetheless, you've got a huge left-wing block of people out there. and they're not represented. But if there could be a coalition, if you will, of left progressives in the party and left progressives out of the party and work together, even though we don't have that coalition-style government to pull from, why couldn't we create such a thing where we got together and created a progressive coalition? I don't see why we couldn't do that.
You're not wrong. That's what I'm trying to do. Part of this whole town hall that I'm doing on Wednesday is specifically for that. Hey, this is how we do it, and this is why we should be working together as we do it. Because just because you're running for school board in California doesn't mean I can't give you a shout out in Ohio when I run for Congress. You know what I mean? And that doesn't mean that our brand, okay, this is a pocket knife, but maybe not the best brand. But if this is the brand next to your name and it's the same brand next to my name, we know we're working together. It's the same reason why the Democrats have the elephant or the donkey, right? We just need that thing that brings us together ideologically. Now, I mean, I called it the Average Joe's Initiative. That doesn't roll off the tongue very well, but the AJI does. Okay, so we have an AJI right here. Boom. You have the logo on your top right-hand corner, and we know, he's good people. That's what we need. And then it's like, okay, I type in our little website, the Pink Pony Party, enter. All right, Ohio right there. Boom, California there. Massachusetts, all right. Scroll down. Oh, this is what we have in each of the counties. We literally, it's so easy. It's so easily to make happen. It just takes a little bit of grit and people to be like, oh, well, damn, I guess it is that easy. That's the problem.
Sam, I want to introduce you, at least verbally and up front here, there's a group that I am largely tied to, and I feel a tremendous sense of loyalty to, called the Progressive Independent Party, a lady named Erikel Bloss, who has put this together. What she's creating is a tribal umbrella, okay? It's not a party per se. It's not like the Democrats or Republicans. It recognizes that lefties are really tied up into these identity things like I'm the Judean People's Front, you're the People's Front of Judea, blah, blah, blah. And so she's trying to pull all the tribes of the left into one coalition that can work together. And it may be, I don't want to speak for her because they do a very, very good job of voting on the way things are done. I'm a little bit more authoritarian, I guess. But the idea here is that they are definitely someone that I'm looking to as a means of pulling together all like-minded people. Party be damned. And I think it's the way to go. Folks, if you've not heard of the Progressive Independent Party, PIP Unite, please, by all means, look them up. But the idea here is that they're tied with Nick Branya of Draft Bernie for a People's Party. Mm-hmm. We were with the Greens. We were with Socialist Alternative, Calvin Priest, Shama Swamp. The gang was there. Chris Hedges, Tim Canova was even there with us. There was a host of people that were there. And I guess the idea here is, Sam, that, this inside-outside strategy, I'm on record. I don't believe the Democratic Party can be saved, not because the people can't be saved, but because the party structure is got so many layers of screw you that I don't know how you get through it. So my perspective, this is why I even mention this, is that with the Erikel Bloss PIP structure, it allows people to stay where they are while working together collaboratively, as a movement. And so, this recognizes in my mind a whole host of possibilities. I'd really like you to consider even thinking through that because, quite frankly, the Democratic Party is your enemy. Now it may not be the people. It's not a condemnation of them.
The structure, yeah.
Yes, and I want to give you as much of a chance to shine as possible. But I just think you're picking the wrong horse to ride on, brother. That's my.
Oh, no. I mean, you're not wrong, I'm definitely not aligning myself with the Democratic Party. Like, I'm not going to turn into a party guy. That's simply not going to happen. I think everybody knows that in the party anyway. But Pip, I mean, it sounds like they're getting the word out among their peers, but it just hasn't reached that next step. And with that being said, I would be happy to be in on those talks, honestly, because then let's be honest, it saves me a whole lot of work, right? if I don't have to do it myself and it's already there, then okay. So I would be happy to reach out to her. Send me her contact information, because this is what I'm talking about. I don't care how we get to this point. I really don't. But that is the point we need to get to. And I apologize that I honestly didn't know PIP was a thing. I had heard of it. I had heard of it, and it just didn't. It was in and out, right?
It's okay.
So I'm on board with the coalition thing. It's just like you said, we have to be inclusive of Americans. And we're okay with having a conservative idea. We're okay with having a liberal idea, because at the end of the day, the answer is somewhere in the middle. We just need to be able to converse with one another. And if that's what PIP is doing, then that's perfect. We just need to take it that next step.
I think it's worth investigating for you. I really do. I'm not going to poison the well here and try and give you my spin on it. I will just tell you that when I met her virtually a little over a year ago, and Real Progressives was a fledgling thing, and PIP was a fledgling thing, it became I wanted to support them, and I articulate it as often as I can. And I think that Nick Branya is a really, really great guy as well. I think that, a little bit of talking with them, they're partnered together as well. I think it's worth your time to consider how we can bring progressives wherever they stand together to fight the evils that are the corporates, and the Republicans.
And I was checking. I'm looking at my contacts, by the way. I'm not just getting on my phone in the middle of this interview. I thought I had Branya on here. I swear to God, I talked to the kid, the guy. Actually, he might be older than me. Maybe I was talking to somebody else from either Justice Dems or New 535. But I'm not opposed to it. Like if that's a contact too, that's perfect, because I was in contact with several of them. The Dementer, I spoke with Jason, and we're all the leaders of these different groups. We're all on the same page. Like, yeah, we do need to find something to pull us together. PIP never came up in those conversations, so I think it needs to. If that's already an established thing, then it needs to be in the conversation.
I agree. All right, so let me ask you a question. You talk about, the center, and you talk about we all have to talk and things like that. But if you just get rid of labels for a minute, right?
Right.
And you say, I think healthcare should be a right.
Yeah.
That's not center. We're talking about that should be a right. That's right. A citizen benefit.
See, this is the other thing. Like, I got into an argument before with the universal pay, or whatever it's called, citizens pay, whatever. Single payer, right? So instead of having welfare programs, you just get a paycheck. And I'm like, well, that kind of makes sense, because instead of getting a higher salary in the military, I get BAH and BAS. And, I can either choose to live within my means, or I can choose to live without of my means. But I get X amount of dollars for housing and X amount of dollars for food. That works. Hello. That works for me. My paycheck as a senior airman and I'll just say this, was like $28,000 a year. I made $20 too much to live in Section 8 housing, right? And I made too much to get food stamps, blah, blah, blah. But on paper, I was making $28,000. But then I got the extra money for housing and food, and my paychecks were fairly nice. I'm not going to lie.
So you and I chatted offline. And we talked about economics a little bit, and we've talked about economics at different places.
Right.
And one of the things that I think is really key to being able to do any of these things, a lot of neat ideas, a lot of nice ideas, but you can't do any of them if you got a screwed up party system. You can't do any of them if you've got a screwed up voting system. And you definitely can't do any of them if the economics backing it doesn't work. And the reason why the Democrats have never been able to really pull off anything magnificent in a long time is because they go into the battle using the same old tired trope they've used since the 70s. And you've noticed we used to have grand things happen in this country. Wonderful, big things, great things happen in this country. They don't happen anymore. Why is that? Because we always throw the two-part war up there. How are you going to pay for it?
Mm-hmm.
And then they always water it down because they're like, well, we can't ask for the world. So let's just go ahead and say 125,000 and below. We need to get rid of these how much you make kind of things and make them rights, make them citizen benefits, period. Stop deciding who deserves it, who doesn't. Just say you all deserve it. And you need to get to this point where you understand that if keystrokes are what makes a deposit, then why in the world are we acting like our nation is broke? We need to get to the point where we understand economics, where you can't make any good plans come true, Sam. And the fact is our nation's not broke.
It isn't. And that's the most annoying thing, too. I know we talked about MMT, and I know we talked about how you're trying to focus on fighting debt versus or where the debt is in the private sector, or in privately held versus publicly held.
Right.
I'm not as well versed, guys, as Steven here is, so that's why he's going to be my economic secretary when I'm president in 8 years, right? So, but the fact of the matter is, you're not wrong, and even if we're just going to play the game the way it's currently developed, right? I mean, we have an economic structure that exists as is. Universal health care pays for itself 10 times over in our current budget. If we cut out the middleman, insurance, the co-pays, blah, 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 1,000 times over, and we socialize hospitals the way they should have always been, because most of our hospitals are privately owned. They're donations or whatever. They're not actual. They're a business instead of what they're supposed to be. Making healthcare, education a right saves tax dollars. It saves money. It saves everything the way it currently operates. Going on your example, it adds to it even further. I mean, it just multiplies that effect. When people are able to spend their money, when they're able to acquire their needs, we benefit, and we saw that. After the World War II, our boom happened because people were empowered, because they had healthcare, they had education, they had the means to afford a home on a single paycheck. They were able to raise a family, Now we have to add internet to the thing, because internet is arguably also necessary in life. Internet, water, health care, education, these are things we need to survive. So why are we privatizing them? Everything that gets privatized ends up getting screwed over, and it makes the problems worse, and people suffer because of it needlessly. And you're right. I mean, we got to. I mean, we have to fix the issue, and from without. As far as that goes, because you're right, the entrenchment is real. It is. We saw it. We saw it. They point blank. They said no. If the Democrats are the good guys and they vote against getting rid of money, then we have to show them who's boss. Like, I did not fundraise once. I did not once say, "Hey, give me money," when I ran for state or for DNC chair. But people still threw me money because they were like, "Hey, do you need airfare? Do you need a hotel stay?" And I was like, "Oh, well, yeah. Like, here's a couple bucks." I raised $3,500, and that was without asking for it. Imagine if we actually knew that we were investing for ourselves. That 42%. That would be the game, folks.
Yep. So let me ask you a question, Sam, because you're at this point now where the DNC itself is over, at least that race there. Now you are post that. What's next for you? Lay out your roadmap here.
Well, since you told me about PIP, I think that should be one of the phone calls I make tomorrow. But in general, the road is to follow through with what I said about progressives. We need to come together. PIP is going to be a very good first phone call, a first starting point in making that happen. Maybe there's something else we can do. Maybe there's something more that we haven't done. But that's step number one. Step number two is, and again, I don't mean to sound arrogant when I say this, but I have to build my brand, right? I mean, I have to have a solid foundation. So I'm going to be working on that. I'm going to LA this weekend. I'm having a town hall on Wednesday. I'll be speaking at my old college, Wright State University, on Friday. St. John University wants me to come out and speak there in Queens, New York. I'm going to do these profile building things because I need to. If I'm going to be effective, if I'm truly going to be able to be a voice as many people want me to be, as you want me to be, if I'm going to fulfill that obligation, then I need to do these things. So that's what I'm going to do. The goal is to simultaneously build brand, simultaneously coalesce the progressive movements, and simultaneously run for Congress. I want to be able to be on the ballot in the state of Ohio, probably as a Democrat. I know that makes some people angry, but it's just going to be easier ballot access. Primary out whoever I'm going to be primarying against, and then bring Steve Shabbat to task, who happens to be the congressman in my district. And if I can win in 2018 on a progressive agenda while helping progressives, while following through on all the things I said I would do, not taking corporate money, this, that, and the other, and learning the speak that I need to learn, maybe not just wearing sweaters and jeans all day long. I might wear a polo or something once or twice. But if I can get into Congress in 2018, this opens a whole new door. I think it won't just be me either. I think there'll be several of us, especially if we can build this. If we can enter 2018 with some amount of structure, be it as umbrella or as a true structure, we have a solid, I do mean a solid chance of winning, because people are going to be sick of Trump. They're going to be sick of Republicans, and they're going to be sick of Democrats. So as long as you say, I agree with progressivism, or I agree with Pip, or I agree with Samuel Ronan, or I agree with Tulsi, that's votes. That's votes from both sides of the aisle. And I know we don't want to do the ideology and the labels, but a spade is a spade at the moment. I've even had conservatives, like Trump supporters, come up to me and say, dude, I'd vote for you. Like, straight up, I'd vote for you. Like, why aren't you on the Trump train? Why aren't you on our party? Because people don't realize what we're talking about. Progressivism is populism. Populism is helping people. And once we get that message across, we're solid.
I love it. All right. So with that, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and see if we can get you back on here, Sam, a couple weeks or something like that after some of this, and just kind of keep a dialogue going as to, the progress of Sam Ronan as you build this brand. I'm serious. I mean, this is, to be perfectly honest with you, I don't need to keep saying it. Obviously, I'm not a big supporter of yours going into Dem Enter, but I am a big supporter of you because I believe that you have the right sensibilities. I believe that any of these things, you're willing to learn is what I'm hearing. And for me, anybody thinks they're a finished product, they're screwed. Right. The idea that you're not a full cup, that you're willing to grow, that tells me that, that there's a lot of hope there. Just hope that the others don't come in there and swoop in and say, in order to make it in here, you got to do this. And then they pull you this way. And I think that a lot of good people enter into politics thinking they can change the world. And then all of a sudden that guy gets them, takes them to a party, gets a compromising picture of him, keeps it in the stash over here, says, you're going to vote against that bill tomorrow. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I'm just coming up with stuff because I can't imagine why people change. I don't know why they change. I don't know why they go from hope and change to, worthlessness like Obama did. I mean, I don't know. I just don't get it.
And see, I can give some small indication. If a 27-year-old who literally has no political background was able to drive a conversation from established career political heavyweights such as Keith Ellison and Tom Perez, and I was able to drive their rhetoric to my direction to the point where they were repeating it, clearly there's something I'm doing correctly, and there's something that people believe in that is going to affect change. I think the problem is, are we now going to have our wake-up call? Because we had our wake-up call after World War II, right? And we had the baby boomers, and then we had the Gen Xers, and then we became complacent, and now we're here. This happened over decades. I'm not saying it happened overnight. I'm not saying it's one generation's fault. I'm saying this complacency happened overnight. What we cannot do, what we will not do moving forward, I hope, is become complacent again. That's my only fear. We do all this. Let's say we succeed. 2018, all 535, it would be 435 congressmen and 33 senators, however many thousands of other races, right? We all win. And for 2 glorious years, we kick ass and take names. And then 2020 comes along and we sit on our laurels. That's my fear.
I agree 100%, Sam. So, Sam, with that, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to end the broadcast. Mm-hmm. I want to thank you for joining us again. I really do wish you well, and I really do want you to do well. I'm hoping that you see the light, you come on out yonder and help us outside to help knock down the walls, because I just think that you're beating your head against the wall and you're too good for it. That's my belief.
I know it's getting a little sore, I tell you.
All right, buddy. Well, look, have a great night. Everybody, thank you, Sam, for joining us again. I hope to have you on real soon.
Thanks.
Yep. Bye-bye.